Hey guys, what's up everyone? It's me, your good friend, Amazin Larry, and here I am, 25 years old, so I'm going to go through 25 Adult Swim shows that you should watch or not. I'll put them in tiers. I'll tier them up. Tier list. That's cool, right? Anyway, so let's start at the beginning. 2001, the start of Adult Swim. Yes, with Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. Space Ghost is really funny. I like it a lot. It's one of those shows where you don't really need to watch every single episode, but like you can cherry pick the funny ones out in out of order. And it's one of those shows also that I don't particularly want. Hold on. Where you don't particularly want to watch every single episode, because for me, it's not one of those shows, where you're just like dying to get more. I got my fill, but it was really good what I got. I'm giving Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, a solid B. It's a funny show for one of those spoof talk shows. I like it. Now we got C-Lab 2021, continuing the Adult Swim trend of repurposing old Hanna-Barbera assets, and this came out in 2001. C-Lab is really funny too. It's that silly, like, ridiculous humor. Obviously, it's just repurposed footage from C-Lab 2020 in a show that nobody watched. And I like it well enough, but I think it's a little lower than Space Ghost in terms of humor, so I will put C-Lab 2021 at a C, which is all right. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, is the final 2000... No, not the final one, but it's also came out in 2001. And I will say Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, is... I think it's going to be at a C level as well, because it's all right. To me, it's not that great. It's not one I really watched through a lot, but it's definitely got some value to it, and it's worth a watch if you're into the classic Adult Swim. Now here's where we get to the meat of the occasion, or should I say meat wad. That's right, Aqua Teen Hunger Force 2001. Yeah, these all came out the same year. Aqua Teen is the king. It's the king of Adult Swim for a good reason. It's super funny. It's super consistently funny. It's got a low budget, low animation, but it's got a charm to it. It looks good enough to where you're like, I like how this looks, even if it's shitty. The characters are memorable and funny. The voices, the scenarios, it's consistently through and through like one of those shows you can just binge. And I wish it was still running. It's a shame they canceled it. Aqua Teen is easily S tier, at the very top, no doubt. Next, we have The Venture Brothers 2003, which is a shock because it's still fucking running, and only 7 seasons in. That's fucking crazy. That after, what is it, like 16 years, they're only 7 seasons in. Like, some people complain about hiatuses, but I mean, come on, if you're a fan of this show, you're going to be waiting a long time. But I think it's worth it. I think Venture Brothers is easily the best Adult Swim cartoon, maybe one of the best cartoons ever made. It's one of my favorites. The writing is super sharp, super witty, super detailed. The amount of stuff that they fit into a single episode is crazy. The large cast of characters are all fantastic and likable, and you want to see them. And it starts off kind of shaky, both in terms of writing and in terms of animation, but both those get really refined fairly quickly. I mean, the animation from the newest season is super professional looking. It's ascended far past like a typical Adult Swim show. It's super clean, and I'm glad that they're able to do so much with the show. In terms of their own creative freedom of Doc Hammer and Jackson Public, the creators. The Adult Swim gives them fair enough, space to move around, which is shocking given their non-leniency with a lot of other shows. But I will say Venture Brothers is definitely worth a watch. It's one of those shows with a continuity you have to watch in episode order, so you might want to look up like specific, things before you go in, like where the movie fits or whatever, the specials. But it is certainly S tier, easy. Now we got Moral Oral in 2005. a lot of people seem to like this show a lot. It's that claymation type style, parodying, David and Goliath and old timey Christmas specials with it's like a faux religious, claymation type thing, but it's actually really dark. I never really liked it that much. I see the appeal, but it's not for me. Personally, I would put it in D tier below Harvey Birdman, below C-Lab. It's just not as funny as to me. It's not. I don't laugh a lot, and it's not super engaging, I suppose. Now we have, in also 2005, we got The Boondocks. The Boondocks is a fantastic show, and I will only count the 3 seasons that aired on Adult Swim because the 4th one is shitty. Boondocks is super consistently funny. It's a little dated now, admittedly, especially because the stuff they're referencing is very specific things that happened quite a while ago by now. But I still think it holds up in terms of both social commentary and the humor of it. I would proudly put it at A tier, where it belongs. Now we got Sorry. Ignore that, please. Fuck. Now we've got 12 Ounce Mouse. Also came out in 2005. Oh, fuck. 12 Ounce Mouse. Oh, yeah. It's one of those shows, in my opinion, you really only need to watch 1 or 2 episodes to get it. It's unique, certainly. It's dry, which is the point. And it's one of those things where you're either going to like it or you don't get it at all. And I'm a little in the middle, I guess. I get it, but I find it humorous enough, but it's not something I would watch super, super much in my free time kind of thing. I'm going to put 12 Ounce Mouse at a C. Now we got Robot Chicken, also 2005. Robot Chicken is one of the Adult Swim shows that really blew up in terms of how popular it got. It's got the claymation style, and it's parodies and shit, stuff that may have been relevant before the internet, but now with the internet, I think Robot Chicken is totally obsolete, honestly. The robot should be put down. With the state of internet parodies, you can get things out way faster than you can with a TV series, especially claymation series that takes a little while. So the stuff they talk about becomes irrelevant very quickly. It's just not that funny. It's a D tier. It's definitely a D tier show. Now we've got Metalocalypse, 2006. Now Metalocalypse I wasn't sure on early on when I started watching it. I think it starts off very shaky in my opinion, but it gets better as it goes on, I think. You get to know the characters and the humor is refined. It's a little funnier as it goes on. The characters seem to get a little dumber, which is the best appeal of the show. The animation is shaky. It's not quite to the level of charmingly bad, but it improves over the course of the series. Now, I'm not finished with the series. This is one I do plan to watch through all the way, so my opinion might change by the end of it, but the point I'm at now, I'm going to give Metalocalypse a solid B tier. Now we have Xavier Renegade Angel in 2007. Xavier is one of those shows where if I saw it on TV and I didn't know what it was, I would turn it off. And that's fair. The visuals are repulsive. The humor is super unique and super smart and super funny. It's clever wordplay and just absurd situations and strange characters and strange dialogue that is ultimately very entertaining to watch. But I don't find the visuals charmingly bad either in this case. I find it literally bad. Just bad. It's not to that level of okay, this is kind of appealing to me. And that's the reason I'm putting it at C. Otherwise it would probably be better. But yeah. I mean, I may change my opinion, but for now let's just leave it at C. Now we got Super Jail in 2007. This is a completely opposite approach where the visuals are the entire appeal and the dialogue is not. Super Jail is super fun, in my opinion. Fucking. It's super fun to watch. It's consistently engaging. Like, you think the formula would get stale because it has a formula, which is, introducing some sort of silly concept and then chaos and everyone kills each other. And that happens in pretty much every episode. But I think the characters are surprisingly likable and you want to watch them. It becomes more of a character show as it goes on, which is kind of interesting. The visuals are very fun to watch. Just the chaos on screen and the amount of things happening and the way it's drawn are very appealing to me. Super Jail is I think would be S tier. I think it would be S tier for me. Now we have our first live action show on my list, which is Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule. Check It Out is one of the offshoots of like a Tim and Eric type product. Now, I'm not a big fan of Tim and Eric, not because I don't like them, but just because I haven't really dove into their stuff, really. I'm kind of ignorant to the Tim and Eric stuff, to be quite honest. But Check It Out is very funny. It's got that... It really nails their own unique style of parodying like public access, shitty news programs with kind of a mix of like on the street... what do they call it? Hidden camera type stuff where, they've got weirdos and strange people. The other hosts are really funny, but of course, Steve Brule himself is very funny. I give Check It Out an A. A is A. All right, 2012, we got another live action show. That's Loiter Squad. Loiter Squad is all right. That's how I describe it. It's kind of a mixture of a bunch of things. It's got skits and, shit. It's got, but the skits vary in quality, I suppose, but that's true for any skit type show. I think generally it's funny. I like Tyler, the creator, in this show and his pack of pals. But I'd give it like a, Loiter Squad, I'd give a C. I give a C to it. Also in 2012, Black Dynamite. Yes, the movie is easily S tier, but let's talk about the show. The show is very, very good. It was surprisingly good. I put off watching it for a while, and when I finally did, I was pleasantly surprised. It nails the kind of look it's going for. You get the vibe, the 70s, kung fu action, blaxploitation cartoon vibe, which is very appealing in my opinion. And I keep saying appealing, but I think that's a good descriptor. It's very funny. The concepts are very funny, like the running gags, the characters. A lot of it is stuff from the movie, but it is well implemented in the cartoon. If it was more than 2 seasons, I would probably rank it higher, but unfortunately it was canceled after 2 seasons. So the 2 seasons we got, I'm giving an A tier. Now we got the Eric Andre Show in 2012. The Eric Andre Show is also a show of Adult Swim's that blew up beyond, the scope of a normal Adult Swim project. And I could see why. It's easy to see why. The celebrity interviews are very, very funny, at least when you first see the show. It's shocking and surprising, the kind of antics he's able to go through. However, I think, at least in my experience, the routine and the formula of the show wears thin, especially because it is so stringent on opening with, the destruction of the set, then going back and forth between Eric and Hannibal, then, on the street skit, then, the interviews and whatever. It's very, by the books in that case. And to me, the only funny part is the celebrity interviews. Those are the best parts. So, like, the on the street stuff, I don't really find funny. I don't think they do it very well in the show. Like, it just comes off as very stupid. Like, people barely react to what he's doing. So I'm going to give Eric Andre's show a C because the celebrity interviews are very entertaining. I think you could cut those together into an A-tier show. Now, in 2013, we've got the big one, the big boy. We've got Rick and Morty. Yeah, fucking Okay, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is fairly solid. I'd say I like to describe it as mean Futurama because it's got that humor of, taking sci-fi concepts to the absurd level, but it's mean, it's cynical, it's angry. And that has a certain appeal to it, yes, but not to my appeal. Personally, I think that the overall cynicism of the show is a detriment to me, because it doesn't land. It's not like the cynical like Boondocks where it's witty and sharp. It feels cynical like just a grumpy person. It's a solid show, don't get me wrong. It is consistently interesting with the types of like plot threads they have and like the crazy sci-fi stuff. Those are the best parts, and the characters are pretty funny for the most part, but I wouldn't really be comfortable giving it more than a B. So I think it's solid B. And now we got Mr. Pickles, and this is where we delve into the realm of bad, because Mr. Pickles is the worst that Adult Swim has to offer in terms of like the worst of all Adult Swim shows. It's needlessly offensive to and it's not funny. It's violent, but it's not like pleasant to watch. It's just a horrible show. Overall, like the main problem is it's not funny. I think that's the big issue here is you have all this, violence and absurdity and, just overall crudeness, but there's no humor behind it. It just feels like terrible. It's an F tier. It's not worth your while. Believe me. Now in 2014, we've got King Star King. Now, King Star King was actually a web series, but it's counted on Wikipedia as one of their programs, so I'm going to count it here. King Star King is like only 4 or 6 episodes or something like that. It is a strange little beast where it's kind of a mixture, of like regular show and Super Jail, although it leans more towards the absurdity and weirdness of Super Jail rather than like the kind of dialogue-heavy regular show. The problem I think I have with Star King is it's the style is not very fun to look at. It's kind of rough and in not a good way. Like if it was better animated and better drawn, I think I would probably have a higher opinion of it. But as it is, it kind of falls flat for me. It's a D. It's a D tier. Now we've got Black Jesus. Now I will be frank here. I don't think I'm equipped to give this show a proper review because I honestly don't think I've seen enough of it. But I'm gonna give it a try. Black Jesus is another show by the creator of the Boondocks. This is a live-action show, however, and it veers more towards the realm of not cynicism, but sincerity. The show feels very uplifting and nice. It's a nice show, but it's not like super out there. It's pretty grounded. For a show about Black Jesus, I'm for now I'm giving it a solid C tier just because I don't know too much about it. But from what I've seen, I really like it, or I like it enough for a C tier. Whatever, fuck you. Now in 2014, we've got Mike Tyson Mysteries. This one went under my radar for a while, and I think it did for most people. But I think people are warming up to it and learning about it to be accurate. Mike Tyson Mysteries is super funny. It's super good, super high quality. It is a parody of Scooby-Doo, and it has the quality of Scooby-Doo. And I don't mean like the original Scooby-Doo. I mean like a good Scooby-Doo. It's Warner Brothers animation, and it looks picture perfect, accurate to what these characters would look like if this show was sincere. The show is obviously a parody and silly and dumb, and the dialogue is really, really funny. And the scenarios and like the mysteries and Mike Tyson and the characters are very funny. Mike Tyson especially is surprisingly has good, great deliveries of his lines. Mike Tyson Mysteries is an A, man. We got 2016. We've got $1 Million Extreme presents World Peace. This is another skit show similar to Loiter Squad, I suppose. But this is more on the side of surrealism, I guess, I would say. I would say the biggest weakness of World Peace is it's not really funny. There was a few sketches that made me laugh, and I think you could edit together the eight odd episodes into one really solid episode, like the best skits. But given as it is spread out into 8 episodes, I feel like a lot of the skits are very, very weak for me. A lot of them are very not clever, but like creative, I should say, and inventive, especially when they veer into this total surrealist visual style. But I don't know. There's something off about the humor of the show that doesn't really live up to some of the other aspects. And of course, the creator's a fairly nasty person. So I'm going to give $1 Million Stream a D tier. I'll say D tier. It's definitely not like terrible, but I feel like 80% of it is not good. Now we have another live action show, the last one on my list. Joe Pera Talks with You in 2018. This show is totally sincere. I do not know why it is on Adult Swim really at all. It's like Mr. Rogers, except with a guy who's clearly not as old as his makeup suggests. And he talks in like this slow voice, but it doesn't veer into really that absurd territory. It is strange enough to be funny and such, but it plays it very straight in terms of like what it is. I think the humor is just the fact that it is on Adult Swim, I guess. But it is an enjoyable show to watch. I would definitely give Joe Pera a C tier. Now, another 2018 show is Ballmasters 9009. Now, when the show's trailers first came out, I said, oh my god, it looks terrible. The trailers for it looked abysmal and awful. But I was pleasantly surprised when it came out. It was made by the people behind Superjail, and it kind of shows with the drawing style, at least. It is actually a plot-driven show, which is not what I was expecting. It's kind of episodic, but it does have an arc to the season, the one season that's out, which kind of surprised me. And it's fairly well done, I guess. I enjoyed it enough. I think once more seasons come out, I might end up like raising this score, but right now I'm going to give it a B tier, which is pretty good. Now my final show on this list is 2019, this year's Tig Tone. Now, as far as I know, this flew under everyone's radar except for me. So I will say that I will use this video to promote it. Tig Tone is a really enjoyable show. It is silly. It's got a weird style that maybe you won't be into, but I kind of like that. It makes it look like Magic the Gathering cards if they were slightly animated with weird facial movements. But the writing is really funny. I love the dialogue, and the voice acting is really good, and it's just funny writing. It's a good writing is the strength of the show, in my opinion. It's certainly something that I could see putting a lot of people off with the visuals, but for me, I kind of got into it. So I'm gonna give Tig Tone an A. Yeah, I really like it. I'm hoping season 2. Anyway, that was 25 Adult Swim shows. There's plenty more where that came from, but I selected these 25 out of my own personal preference, and I hope my tier list helps those of you who want to check out Adult Swim shows but aren't sure where to start. I think that my list is a good guideline. So I hope you all have an amazing day.